Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. I'm Keith Engle, one of your co-hosts, with my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Good, Keith. I was on mute for 1 second. I wasn't nubbing you or brushing you up.
That's okay. I didn't mute you either, just to be clear. So, real quick before we get started, I want to bring in a special guest today, James Martin. James JTrain Martin, you all know from all our national streaming sports roundtables. Good to have you with us today, James. How are you?
I'm great, Keith. I appreciate you having me on. I'm very honored to be on your show today. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you. Anytime you want to pop in, you can certainly do that. I want to make sure the show got started on Facebook because I have a little trouble on my Facebook page sometimes. So anyway, welcome everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. As you know, we're going to kind of dive into the world of sports from this weekend. One thing I didn't mention to you guys was, I'll get there in a second. Obviously, big weekend for college football, week one. Some interesting stuff going on. Not the least of which was the Miami Notre Dame game last night, which is not the last game of the weekend. We'll talk about that real quick in a second. It was a very good game. Notre Dame made a little bit of a run late in the game, but I thought Carson Beck played pretty well. I had some concerns as a Canes fan about his arm, and he showed some great leadership. And it's only one game, but beating Notre Dame and beating anybody in week one of that caliber is a good spot. A signature win finally, in my mind, for Marco Cristobal and that program. James, you had a great stat if you want to throw it out there about Miami and signature wins.
Yeah, Keith, Miami looks like they're on the upswing these last couple of seasons. So they beat Notre Dame, a top 10 team, and they hadn't done that for 10 years. And the team that they did it before was Notre Dame.
There you go. 10 years. This
is 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was 8, 10. Who cares? Really, I shouldn't have even maybe mentioned it. But I you know what impressed me, guys? The quarterback play from both teams. I mean, C.J. Carr's a freshman. He handled himself really, really well. And when he couldn't bring Notre Dame back at the end, it was more a case of Miami's defense, really stepping up, getting the job done, as opposed to him faltering. And Carson Beck, he really looks NFL ready.
Yes.
I'm watching him. He looks NFL ready. I mean, I see him regaining his status as a number one, first-round draft choice and a high one at that.
Smart move for him to come back this year and not go into draft, because he would have gone late if he'd gone because of nobody knowing about his arm. So I think a smart move for him. And I mean, he's getting paid $4 million, so it's not like he came there for nothing. But a smart move in getting himself his reputation or his stock back, if you will. So this game, I think this is a bigger win for Miami than it is a loss for Notre Dame. Notre Dame can afford this loss. I think that, if they're 11-1, 10-2, they're probably going to make the playoff. This is a very important win for Miami, especially if they should not win the ACC and get that automatic bid.
Yeah, you know what it does, a loss like this? It cuts down on your margin of error for the rest of the season. The loss in itself isn't devastating, but you can't afford a slip up where you get upset in another game, because then your back's really against the wall. Guys, I don't know, did any particular play stand out to you during the game yesterday? But one stood out to me that's so obscure that no one's even mentioning it. Early in the game, Notre Dame they're attempting a field goal, and there's a bobble snap, a bad snap. The holder gets it. He's getting up, running. He's looking to pass to someone. No one is running down the field for Notre Dame. I mean, no one's there for him to throw to. Yeah. I mean, you would think with all their practice, they would have some formation in case there's a bobble snap, who does what. But no, but they just froze. I mean, no one attempted to get down the field for him to throw the ball to, so the holder runs out of bounds. I mean, they didn't lose field position per se, but any chance of making a play, went down the drain.
I'm guessing Rick Sherlock will have a comment here in a second because he's a special teams nut, and people don't realize how important special
I'd like
teams
to hear what Rick has to say on that particular play.
Special teams are so important and often will cost teams games, and we don't even pay attention enough to them. That particular play, normally a team has a code word they'll yell out if there's a botch snap or whatever. So people do exactly what you said, Jack, go down the field and try to get themselves open, which is problematic at best anyway. But it didn't look like Notre Dame even had either didn't practice that or didn't follow through on what the play should have been.
Hey, Keith, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Does a win like this solidify Miami as being technically back? We're looking like the old Miami. I mean, considering they were pretty good last year, they lost Cam, and we weren't sure what they were going to be like this year. But they look like they won a game that was pretty impressive, in pretty impressive fashion.
I badly want to say yes, but I've been fooled a few times in the last few years. They started 10-0 a few years ago under Mark Richt. I think his second to last year there. And they've had some good teams in the past and then stumbled late in the year. Last year was a really, really good team. That team was going to the ACC championship game. They were going to the playoff, and they went to Syracuse and the defense stayed home. I mean, the defense wasn't good last year anyway. And that's another thing I saw last night. I thought the defense, until late in the game, played pretty well. CJ Carr did play well, but I thought the Miami defense, relatively speaking to what we've seen the last couple of years, was really much better last night. Are they
particularly that last drive for Notre Dame? They shut him down.
I think so, and we say this in a lot of sports. I know I do. Are they back? I think we have to wait till January to find out if they're really back and get in the playoffs and do some damage there.
A big win, but keep in mind it was a prime time game. They weren't competing against the other games, even though there was one smaller game going on. I actually watched a little bit of it. You're going to laugh, Winston-Salem, that game. But the point about it, you had Jimmy Johnson there, Michael Irvin, and all the hype in this game, Notre Dame and all. But are they back? I mean, where were they last year? They just faltered a little bit, blew a 20-point lead to Syracuse, which, was devastating for their season. I don't think they're that far away. I think when the team is like 6-6, then something like that, then you can discuss whether they're back or not. But Miami was on the cusp, and they look like they're going to be a playoff team this year.
To James' point, I mean, this team, again, they were good, but didn't get to the playoff last year. They had some decent years the last few years and fell apart at the end, but they've been basically irrelevant this was a team that for 20 years was probably the dominant program in football from 83 to 2005 or so. But in the last 20 years, they've been more or less irrelevant. And this is a signature win. And they got to build off it. CA was putting up before they got Florida State here in a month or so. They play everybody in Florida, I think, the next month or so. They got Florida, they got Florida State. I think they play South Florida. I'm not positive. Again, a big win, and with Clemson losing right now, Miami I would put them more favored to win the ACC than Clemson right now. And I was very high on Clemson. Jack knows I picked them to win the national championship last Friday. So,
but Clemson's loss to LSU is similar to Notre Dame's loss to Miami. It could turn out to be nothing more than a blip, one of those things.
Yeah. Again, some of these week one losses, the Texas-Ohio State game, Florida State, Alabama, all of them could be. Again, I think that Florida State was huge for them, obviously huge, maybe bigger than Miami's win last night, considering where they've been last year.
To mention, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just to mention that that Clemson team is, I wouldn't say a blip. I would say it says more about LSU being a lot better than people thought they were, and because I still think Clemson is the pride of the ACC, and they're probably going to win that.
Right, but between Clemson, Notre Dame, and Alabama, the three of them, the Alabama loss concerns me the most. I'm far and away 100%. Mostly concerned about Alabama, the type of year they're going to have. I'm sensing they can be in a little trouble, and in making the playoffs, Mike, it's going to be hard for them. Not so much because they lost one game, but looking at how they lost compared to the way Clemson lost and the way Texas lost. I think Clemson and Texas, their schedule, I believe, is pretty easy the next couple of weeks, so they should straighten things out. As far as Alabama, you could say, well, the schedule, they'll have some games they should win easily. They just didn't look ready, Alabama. I mean, the game was there for them to take over, against Florida, and they just didn't get it done.
Yeah, and I don't want to put all this loss on Ty Simpson, but if that's the best quarterback Alabama has, I think they are going to be in trouble. I mean, I'm sure he's a good kid, but he does not look like a top-tier Power 4 quarterback to me. So it's one game. I mean, Arch Manning didn't look great either. I wanted to jump into that just a little bit.
Yeah.
People are jumping all over it. The big thing they take away from the Ohio State-Texas game was Arch Manning flopping. Listen, Arch didn't play great. His mechanics were kind of weird at times when he felt pressure. He wasn't on target enough, obviously, but that Ohio State defense is really good. And this is his first really foray into the spotlight, right? And I'm going to give the kid a mulligan here because I think, talk to me in a month, right?
Give him a grade. Give him a grade. I'm going to give him a C-. That's the grade I would give him, a C-. He missed some easy throws. Yeah, it's all on him. Easy throws. He made some good throws. They did him no favors with the game calling. No favors at all.
They got
not allowing him to use his legs and be himself.
I feel like Sark was not maybe opening up the playbook for a reason on that first game. If he knows this isn't life or death if they win or lose this game, I'm sure he wants to win, don't get me wrong. But I don't think they wanted to show all their wrinkles in that game. And I think you'll see a real Arch Manning in a couple of weeks here, and they will let him loose. And because his game is not sitting in the pocket just throwing the football. He can move around and he can throw the ball like his granddad.
I don't think people realize that the score was still 14-7 between two top 5 teams. And with that said, Texas still ran for 166 yards on their defense.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to sneeze at. So I would say that Texas still is going to be a tough team to reckon with in the SEC, as well as OSU in the Big Ten. So I think the biggest thing is allowing the kids. My grade for Arch is a C+. He did throw a touchdown.
Right, I was my professor when I went to school, James. I
grade on the curve a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of curve, so.
Yeah, but you even saw Texas, Ohio State early in the game. Texas had 4th down in inches, and they barely got a first down. And I question whether they legitimately even got the first down, whether they were just given a good spot. But they can barely penetrate Ohio State's defensive wall. So why would they try that again at the goal line and try to rush it? I'm not against them going for it. They absolutely should have gone for it. Let Arch roll out. No one's going to stop him.
100%.
They're jammed up at the line. Arch gets the ball. He rolls out, and you could send one receiver out, with him. I mean, that's a much better bet than trying to get through by force. And then late in the game, they have a 3rd and 3 when they're down 7 points. Not to allow Arch to roll out, use his legs, have design running plays. It just struck me the wrong way. But with that said, he made some awful throws. I mean, from, short throws I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not saying he played well. I mean, he was not good in game 1. I'm just saying I'm not judging his year on this one game.
No.
It says here,
for sure.
Let's comment in a second. Week run overreactions, good and bad. We all do it. And in a month from now, we'll be like, what the hell were we talking about a month ago? That was nuts. So... he also said he did have, I don't know. I felt Arch I thought his mechanics fell apart when he felt some pressure. But again, I think it might have been just week 1 jitters. Real quick, back to Notre Dame and the special teams. Rick is talking about this, and he's right. Notre Dame's had some issues for the last several years on special teams. This isn't the first time they've had a faux pas there. And again, this stuff comes down to coaching. Special teams to me is 100% coaching. And doing the right thing. And I think
my point is, Rick, if a special teams play breaks down, what are the players supposed to do at that moment? The play completely breaks down. What's your plan B, plan C in that situation? Everyone should be in sync. And when there was the bad snap, no one in Notre Dame, went down the field, who would be an eligible receiver. And the holder did pick the ball up, and he's running with it, looking to pass to someone, but there was no one to throw it to.
I think to Rick's point, though, that's a coaching issue. If they are not, they have to know what to do when that happens, right? Because it's going to happen several times a year. So, a few years ago, if you remember, the Giants and 49ers in a playoff game with a bad snap, and the Giants had threw a long pass. Everybody, I mean, almost everybody, because you can't send everybody. Then you got illegal guys downfield, but. You've seen it before. What did Rick say here? Rick's got his obligatory.
They were absolutely. Aren't they still handwritten? I mean, I would say no.
I get into a computer probably now to see him, Jack. So
I have some collector's items put away.
A very good point by CA too. We're talking about Miami. They don't have Clemson on the schedule this year, the regular season schedule. They wouldn't see them until the ACC championship game, if that were to come to fruition. Very good point. What was the best? Well, we'll start with what was the best thing you saw this weekend in college football, guys? For me, Miami's win, Florida State win. Those were the best two things I saw in this weekend, which we've talked about a little bit. How about you guys? Anything outside of that you say that was the best thing I saw all weekend?
I think the general electricity in the Notre Dame Miami game, the excitement, even just watching on TV, I think that to me, that's what I take out of it the most, because I made a comparison in my mind watching the Miami Notre Dame game to the NFL. No week one game is going to me, quite measure up to that excitement. And I know Thursday night we're going to get an anticipated game. The Cowboys visit the Eagles. There's going to be a lot of excitement in Philadelphia, but there's nothing like a big college game like that, a rivalry game, and especially people were reliving, Catholics versus the convicts and all that, and it was nostalgic as well. That's why they had Jimmy Johnson, that to rile the crowd up, the nostalgia. And that's what I took most out of it.
How about you, James?
I'm going to say the same thing. I like the Notre Dame Miami game and also the LSU Clemson game. Just although it might sound like I'm a little biased because I'm an LSU fan, but defensively, I hadn't seen a defense for LSU like that since maybe 2014. I mean, it looks totally different, man. And trust me, it almost brought a tear to my eye seeing it with such nostalgia, seeing how good that defense was.
That was not what I expected to see in that game. I expected a bit of a shootout that night. And I think both teams' defenses are better, at least in week one, right? It could be also the offenses just aren't in gear yet. Who knows? So we'll see.
And we get a little excitement. We get a little excitement, perhaps. And maybe I'm overstating it with Bill Belichick, tonight with North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to go there in a second. One thing I want to say about the excitement that you mentioned in the stadiums, Jack, that's the thing I still love about college football. I love the NFL, but you go to a campus game, you are not going to ever find that type of energy and that type of electricity in a stadium in the NFL ever. I mean, it's fun. They're loud, but college campuses, not even close. So that's why I still love the college game. Even
I'm going to tell you what. You go to an NFL game, unless a team travels very well, usually it's going to be lopsided in the home team's favor. But a college rivalry like this, it's going to be split down the middle, both factions, and that adds to the drama and excitement.
Yeah, Miami, there's always a lot of visiting fans there for whatever reason. I mean, the Miami fans don't want to drive because it's a long ways from campus too. You got to realize where they're playing out. And I
got to think to what James mentioning is Miami back. If Miami is back, and that's the perception, and they probably are, that's going to help them for years to come with recruiting. Because think of all these great recruits. they like to go somewhere where they enjoy living. And Miami's appealing. I mean, it's their dream vacation destination anyway, as college kids to go hang out in Miami. That's why I think a lot of kids on the East Coast, they don't really go to USC, UCLA, because California is a little out of the mix, but Miami, the Florida schools. So I think it definitely helps as long as they have a winning program, and they obviously have it now once again.
You're biased at LSU. A little bit. I mean, it's not that bad.
Well, what's the bigger, James, what would be big in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina? LSU winning a national championship or the Saints winning a Super Bowl?
Saints winning the Super Bowl, hands down. You can stop right there. I'm just going to tell you, it's just not even close. Yeah. New Orleans, man, everyone loves LSU, but it's LSU. Let's get, for those of you out there, they're in Baton Rouge, which is totally different from New Orleans. It's still Louisiana. We're still fans of it, but in the heart of the city of New Orleans, the Saints is really has the heart of everybody there. So yeah,
that was huge recovery. It didn't do anything to fix anything, but people's spirits. I think that was an awesome. You can't just put a price.
Let's just put it this way: there's a statue of Gleason blocking the punt for the Falcons out in front of the Superdome. So that tells you a lot right there.
There's again special teams. There you go. There you go, Rick. You got one of your guys has got a statue in the stadium. That's shocking. That's awesome. What about real quick? The worst of this past weekend. I've got Alabama's loss, and I'm gonna have to say Arch's debut was maybe the worst things I've seen this weekend.
The worst to me would be I'm having a brain cramp. The quarterback for UCLA who transferred from Tennessee, Ikavella. How do you say
Nico.
Yeah, Nico played horrendously, and the way he tried to apparently manipulate the system, and the way it went down, the way he seemed on the surface at least to hold Tennessee hostage, the way it was portrayed, whether that's accurate or not. And Tennessee had an agreement with him. They didn't want to give in to him renegotiating.
Yeah.
And they let him walk. They stood on principle, Tennessee. And he goes to UCLA, and he was awful in the first game.
And it even looks worse when Avila, who theoretically was in a trade for him because he came from UCLA without ever playing a down there, played really good at App State when he was there. He played pretty well this weekend against Syracuse. So that even magnifies Nico's weekend worse.
Joey Aguilar? Yeah.
What did I say? Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of a kid from Vanderbilt. Yeah, Joey Aguilar.
Yeah, he threw 3 TDs. So it looks, like you say, it looks worse.
Yeah. It's funny the quarterbacks flip-flopping because we're going to have, not that it should be a discussion point today at all, but we're going to have a similar scenario with the Jets and Steelers. They're indirectly flip-flopping quarterbacks for the season opener. Rodgers with the Steelers, Fields with the Jets. That's always a fun scenario because the losing team hears it from not only maybe their fan base, but people who, couldn't care less about either team, but they ridicule the team that moved on from a quarterback, who beat them, immediately after.
Yeah, agree. How about you? Worst of your weekend, James?
I'm going to have to agree with you about Alabama. It's just I expected more from them. And again, bringing up that note I brought up yesterday on the show is that what's the coach's name? Kalen DeBoer.
DeBoer, yeah.
Yeah, his record is 6-4 against non-ranked teams, and under that shadow of Nick Saban, 100+ and 4 in those same type of games. It's just I hate to even compare him to Nick Saban. You shouldn't compare any coach at this moment to Nick Saban. It's just unfair. But to come in and take over for a team like that, when, like Jack said yesterday, when they were actually still winning, it's going to be tough. And so I just think, and to bring up your point, Keith, about an electric crowd at Florida State. Wow, they obviously they stormed the floor. I mean the field, and that was just impressive. So
it was. I'm not. It's funny. because that's a big win for them. And I don't remember them ever storming the field at Florida State because I think they're used to winning big games for so long, and it's a little different feeling for them now. So we do have tonight. One more game I want to mention real quick. Kind of Beamer Bowl yesterday. Shane Beamer goes to Virginia Tech in I think they played in Blacksburg. His dad is a legend there, and Frank was rooting for his son Shane, not for his old team. And South Carolina played a great game yesterday. They're a team to be reckoned with in the SEC this year. They got a really good quarterback, and their defense looks really good as well, much improved from last year as well. I just want
they made a big play on special teams, right? South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, and that's what Frank Beamer's teams were known for at Virginia Tech. We're talking about special teams a lot today. His teams were known for making those big plays all the time. Seemed like they blocked the punt in every game.
Well, isn't South Carolina considered a dark horse coming into this season?
Oh, definitely.
A team that could really make the playoffs.
Yeah, they made a great run last year and just missed out. I mean, they had probably that loss to LSU, that tough loss they had to LSU early in the year probably kept them out. They'd have been in the playoffs. So maybe these early season games aren't as unimportant as we think when you get down to, getting those at-large bids to the playoffs. So, but good stuff. Belichick tonight gets his inaugural college football head coaching game with North Carolina against TCU at home. They're underdogs at home to TCU. I'm not sure what to make of this year, quite frankly, because he's got a transfer quarterback coming in starting. He didn't pick his quarterback until about Friday. This team, I swear, I can see him 3-9. I can see him 9-3. And anywhere in between. I just don't know what to expect here, or if he's even in this for the long haul. I'm starting to think he is. I don't think NFL teams come and calling, so I think he might be in this for the long haul. But kind of interesting to see what happens tonight and going forward.
Well, if you're North Carolina, you have to be happy at Bill Belichick as the coach, because would we even be talking about tonight's game if it wasn't Bill Belichick? It would be just one of those games on the guide that you're turning and going. I know, Keith, you watch every single game, so you would be watching it. But half the people who are going to be watching this game wouldn't be watching this game normally. And there has to be excitement on the campus with, Bill Belichick there. But again, that old saying, you never have another chance to make a first impression. Like I said yesterday, if they get off to a 1-4 start, I mean, the lust, it's tarnished immediately.
Yeah.
So they've got to get off to a good start. I mean, if they get off to a 2-1 start even, it starts creating a buzz.
Your point about this game wouldn't be being played tonight, by the way. This game would have been 1:00 Saturday if Belichick wasn't there.
Yeah, but the comparison, Deion Sanders upset this same program. TCU. So if Belichick doesn't do it, do they draw comparisons, even though obviously Belichick is the far more accomplished coach? I mean, I shouldn't even dignify that element, but I think Bill Belichick's got to get off to a quick start. He gets off to a quick start, there's going to be a tremendous buzz. If he doesn't, it kind of wears off. That's why we like Deion Sanders, because all of a sudden they go 3-0 and it's building, it's exciting.
Yeah. Any thoughts there, James?
Yeah, my thing is, it's just how's recruiting? I mean, they've never really had like the best teams there, as far as like 4- and 5-star players there. I mean, there's been some decent teams, but how's recruiting? I mean, I can only imagine Bill Belichick going and sitting down with the parents, and he has that famous mumble that he sits down, and then all of a sudden he just pops out his fingers with about 6 rings on them, and so that you don't really have to say much. He just shows the rings and then brings them in. So hopefully, I'm rooting for him. Honestly, I want to see them succeed because I've always liked North Carolina basketball. Yeah. I wonder why can't this team football-wise succeed, because it is a basketball team. But hopefully they can do better with him there.
I can only root for him just so much because I'm a Miami fan, so it's very hard to root for North Carolina. But We'll see.
Come on, Keith. You're a Patriot fan.
I am, and I will. But when they play head to head, there's going to be no contest. I'm going to be rooting for Miami. I'll get killed in my household if I don't. My stepson did his undergrad at Miami, and
you never know who you're going to. You never know who you're going to be rooting for until they're actually playing one another in certain situations. I'll give you an example. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I spent, well into all my childhood years in Brooklyn into adult years. So the Brooklyn Cyclones, the minor league team, come into existence, and they'll take off of the Brooklyn Dodgers. I can't wait to see the Brooklyn Cyclones because I'm a Brooklyn boy.
Yeah.
But the Brooklyn Cyclones are playing the Staten Island Yankees in the first game, and I'm sitting there and I find myself rooting for the Staten Island Yankees. I mean, it wasn't planned that way, so you never know. Being a Yankee fan, the Yankee in me, just took over.
100%. Before I move off of college, a recap of Jack and my picks. Jack was 1-2 this week. He won on Florida State. Great pick. Not only did they cover the big spread, but they won the game, as we know. But he had Notre Dame and he had Clemson. So down he goes. He's 3-3 for the year. I came back a little bit with a 2-1 week myself. Went on Tennessee, won on Utah State and Brock Mendenhall's debut there, and loser on Texas and Arkansas.
I've decided, Keith, when the picks come forward, I'm going to be taking the heavily favored teams and giving 32 points. Has anyone done any research on the point spread? When a team is favored by 25 or more points, do they cover the majority of the time?
I guess if you Google that, you'll find information, because there's information about absolutely everything you can think of on the internet for sure. My guess, and I know years back, you'd lay 40, with the old Nebraska, Oklahoma teams, you'd lay 45 points and know they're going to win 70-2, So today, I don't know, because there's a little more parity than there's been before because of the transfer portal and the NIL money. And people think only the big dogs are getting better, but that's not necessarily true. There's more big dogs today, or medium-sized dogs, I guess, than there were. And there's not a lot of teams I'm going to lay 25 on. I can tell you right now. You're going to find it probably when Alabama. Well, probably a bad example. Alabama plays New Mexico. Well, Michigan was probably 25 or 26 point favorites this week, I would think. So
is Alabama playing
minus 34.5 to be exact. Minus 34.5.
There you go, minus 34.5. And did they cover?
No,
they didn't cover.
It was 34-17. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on real quick. Let's go to the NFL quickly. Not a ton going on, except the opening week is coming. It's snuck up on us because it's weird how you have no football for like 2 weeks, it seems, and now we get the opening week. The Cowboys are at the Eagles. A lot of excitement about the kickoff game, if you will. But to me, I mean, the Eagles have got to be the favorite easily here. The Cowboys with this Micah Parsons things, is this going to hang over their head, or is it best that he's gone? We know Dak had some things to say that he didn't really say anything yesterday. But I think it being off their shoulders, I think is probably good for the team, but I don't think this is a good football team regardless. I think they'll score points, but I'm not sure how much they're going to stop people. I think the Eagles win this game easy.
Well, I'm not sure how popular Micah Parsons was in the locker room. We haven't heard much coming from the Cowboys one way or another. But you said something, Keith, last year. Believe it or not, that really stuck with me. The play is so bad in the NFL early in the year. Anyone can beat anyone. It's as if they're getting into game shape the first 3 or 4 games. So it's so unpredictable. And in college, they seem ready to play from the get-go. You're getting the best of the teams from the get-go, but you don't get that in the NFL. Even like last year, the Patriots going to Cincinnati and they beat the Bengals. That made no sense, because by the end of the season, the Bengals playing the Patriots in Cincinnati, the Bengals handle them easily, no questions asked. But for first game, we're going to see some upsets that are going to kind of blow us away week one. I don't know where they're coming from, but we're going to see one team destroy another team that we thought was going to lose the game outright.
That game probably kept the Bengals out of the playoffs, I would say. If I'm not mistaken, one more win would have got them in. So that is interesting. And the comparison with college and pros, they're hitting every day in college. There's no players association saying you could only hit X amount of days. And, it's just crazy. They're not game ready, but these kids aren't playing exhibition games at all. It's all scrimmages, but they're full out scrimmages, and they're hitting and they're ready to get hit. And make plays, except maybe Notre Dame special teams when the whistle blows. So, but you got a good, and that's why we see such bad football. Like I said, for a month. So, what are your thoughts?
And more injuries in the NFL.
More injuries, absolutely. Yeah, because you're not game ready, not just playing, but absorbing punishment. Right, you're going to absorb a lot of punishment in an NFL game, and you don't get your body ready for that. In my mind,
it'll be enjoyable to listen to. The Eagles, they won the Super Bowl last year, and if they're losing 10-0 at the half, they're going to be booed they're going to be booed into their locker room. The fans are going to be calling them bums, this and that. So I kind of get a kick out of listening to the Philadelphia crowd. But for the Dallas fan base, this game's extra important, especially Jerry Jones, because like I said yesterday, if Dallas goes into Philadelphia and wins, the Micah Parsons talk kind of dies down.
It's a big if. It's a big if. I just think you were going to ask me about what my thoughts on the game. I just think the Eagles, first of all, coming off the Super Bowl win, they didn't really change much. They lost maybe one or two players here and there, but they're young and they're hungry. I think this is a team that I would potentially project to go back to back.
Yeah.
Just how good they are. I don't think Dallas has anything. And just all the drama, not enough moves in the offseason. I don't think they have enough to win this game. I think the Eagles win it handily.
Where they
could you imagine?
And the defense, they lost some depth. So injuries could be a little problematic. They're problematic for anybody, but they had a lot of depth on that defense, and I think they lost a little bit there.
Well, what I would most look forward to is Dallas winning a 13-10 type game and keeping Saquon Barkley in check, and Kenneth Clark playing a great game, and then hearing Jerry Jones get interviewed after would be entertaining to me.
This is a great point by Scott Colby, I think. Is there a playmaker anymore on Dallas's defense with Micah gone?
Fowler.
Gone?
Yeah.
Who would you say is
Fowler. Yeah.
You think he's that type of player?
He could be.
Yeah.
He had what, 10.5 sacks last year?
Okay, that's
If I'm
good.
not mistaken, yeah. And their corners are pretty good, but they don't really have a running game, Dallas. I mean, I know he has CD Lamb as a target. He has Pickett, the receiving core is okay, but I don't see how they're running the ball.
Yeah. I don't see it. Well, I don't see them running the ball either. They're going to throw a lot. Dak's going to throw 50 times a game. And as Scott said, they're going to have to outscore people because I don't think that defense is going to be very good at all myself. Bland, I just signed a big extension.
Yeah.
I think I don't watch him play day in and day out. I know that, but I think he might be one of the more overrated cornerbacks in football. Everybody gets on those, that big game he had. You know who doesn't, return 2 touchdowns for interception for touchdowns in a game? Really good cornerbacks because you don't throw at them. That's why they don't get interceptions. So I'm never impressed by high interception totals and stuff like that because the good guys really don't get thrown their way. So, what about you?
Unless you're with Night Train Lane.
Yeah, right.
Night Train Lane. You know what I'm doing now, guys? I'm reading a book on Sid Luckman now.
You graduated with him, didn't you, or no?
Yeah, kind of made it. Well, not quite. He was in my old neighborhood, though. But
Everybody
you
was.
know, it gets me the way the game evolves. You get these old timers who were in football for decades, and the game has gotten so much more complicated over the years. You wonder, have they really made the adjustment?
Yeah, I got to stop making cracks about Jack's age. Rick actually told me the other day, I'm going to break Rick's confidence a little bit. He goes, I got to stop busting Jack about his age. I think we're the same age. So anyway, remember that when he's throwing barbs at you now, Jack. By the way, they brought up, that was an interesting game. I forgot they got a Friday primetime game. The Chiefs and the Chargers playing. That's going to be an interesting, again.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Chiefs and I mean, will that game? Yeah. I'm just trying to take a look. That's on YouTube. The game's on YouTube. I'm not a subscriber to YouTube. I mean, can I even see the game, the Chiefs and the Chargers? And that's a darn good game.
I can send you an app you can put on your phone. You can watch any game you want if you want. What? It's not quite legal, but who cares?
You know, it's sometimes a little frustrating when I'm in Florida. I forget, and I get the Florida teams on TV. For the NFL. So I want to tune into a Jet game, and I might not be able to see it actually.
Brian says it's free on YouTube.
Okay, cool,
so
cool.
We'll check that out. If you go to YouTube, you can often ask for a game. At least college, I know. You can just say, I want to see. I don't know. It was one game a couple years ago when Fox was blacked out in our area for whatever reason. There was some dispute. There was a college game on. I think it was Clemson and I want to say it was Clemson and Duke or something. But I just asked YouTube, find this game, and I'd find a stream. And then somebody knocks it off, and you got to go find another stream. So you can find.
Let me tell you what the charge is.
You know the angles. Keep always knowing the angle.
I know all these.
What's interesting is what James and myself talked about yesterday with JJ McCarthy. James and myself aren't sold on JJ McCarthy, but what's interesting was a year ago when JJ McCarthy was coming out and Jim Harbaugh, his college coach at Michigan, took over as coach of the Chargers. If Harbaugh was that sold on JJ McCarthy, he could have worked it out where he drafted him. And if he traded Justin Herbert, he may have gotten 3 number 1 draft choices at that point for Justin Herbert. So if you're that sold on your own college guy, your own college quarterback, you draft him.
Yeah.
Because you've worked with him. He's a sure thing because Justin Herbert was a stranger to Jim Harbaugh. But obviously he wasn't as sold on his own guy, despite what he'd say.
Obviously, we don't know what J.J. McCarthy is. I think he's in the best place he can be to develop as a quarterback because Kevin O'Connell is just really a quarterback whisperer in my mind. He's really good. Spent some time on that Patriot, holding that clipboard for the Patriots, too, by the way, that position you like so much, Jack. So he knows the game, and if anybody can get him up to speed, it'll be him.
I agree with that, at least. Yeah. I do agree with that.
And Scott, I can't take Trump's calls anymore.
He's got the players, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, you can talk about all the coaching you want when you have Justin Jefferson and other weapons. Come on.
What the hell is that? This is really.
He meant Madden, not Madden.
Madden.
Well, what did I say? What did I say? I'm open to hearing this, but I don't get it. Madden.
I'm not sure what that reference is towards.
I don't know. I clear it up. I'd like to respond to it. It's
got to have something to do with your comments about McCarthy and Harbaugh or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe, Brian, you can explain it to us. So, and I want to find out, Jack, you mentioned yesterday about dissension in New England. Where's the dissension in New England other than their coach being very banter friendly with the press and his press conferences, which I find refreshing. James and I both compared him to that fat, never mind, Bill Parcells. I like that banter. He's been very good with these guys. He's funny. He's absolutely funny in his press conferences.
There's disorganization in England. When I say dissension, there's been stuff going on behind the scenes. Grable has been getting upset. He's been getting flustered, and he wants things to go a certain way. And obviously, things are going down there. I mean, I can sense it. Even the way he was talking to a reporter, he's saying, "Well, I just answered that question and talked 5 minutes about it, and you want me to answer the same exact question again and talk for 5 minutes?" He's kind of losing his cool at a simple.
You thought he lost his cool when he made that comment?
It's going to be a long year for the New England Patriots. Don't listen to this silly banter about them being a playoff team. They're not a playoff team. Maybe next year they'll take the next step. Maybe Grable will learn from this. Grable's had some tough times at Tennessee too. I mean, the man lacks patience. I mean, that's his weakness.
He lacks
and
patience.
A perfect example would be Malik Willis. He had no patience with Malik Willis. Malik Willis goes to Green Bay, and they nurture him. And when he filled in for Jordan Love, he did fine. He never would have had that success with Grable, at Tennessee.
That team won like 8 games in 3 years before he got there. He went to the playoffs the first year. The second year, without a quarterback, he goes to the AFC Championship game, goes to the playoffs and beats the Patriots the next year. And then he had a couple of bad years because him and management couldn't get along.
It's management. So when they win, management gets no credit. When they lose, it's management's fault. If the Cowboys win this year, they would have done it inside of Jerry Jones, right?
Listen, he's building his team in his image. Jabril Peppers gets cut yesterday. Dugars is one of my favorite guys on the team, is probably a second teamer at best right now because Vrabel doesn't love his game. He's building his team in his image, which is, again, very much like the old Patriot image, by the way. And the rest of you guys are worried it's going to happen all over again the next 20 years.
He's not a bad coach. He's a decent coach. Don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about this year only. I'm not saying he won't have success, going forward next year and beyond. I'm not saying that. This year, things have been messy, He has a mess he has to untangle. Can he untangle it going forward? Yeah, I believe he can. But this year is going to be a tough year for the Patriots. Don't expect anything much better than you had last year.
Scott Colby is a Patriot fan, lives in the heart of Boston, and he's got his pulse on this more than anybody, and I guarantee he's 100% right about what he says here. So it's good stuff. We're ready. We're excited. It may not happen this year. But to your point, you said this a lot of times about the Giants.
It won't happen this year.
They could win 5 or 6 games and still be a whole lot better football team than they were last year. I can tell you that right now.
I love it, Keith. When they win 5, 6 games, they're going to tell me, he did a good job. They improved.
Well, I probably won't say that.
They'll be. Listen, I think on the Grable, they will be fine, just not this year. I think this year, it's kind of like tear the house down and rebuild it type situation.
Jack, I think what Keith means is that if they're a 5 or 6 win team, they still look better by winning, by losing very close games, competitive games to some really good teams.
I'm only echoing Jack talking about the Giants, how they could win 4 or 5 games and be a much better football team. I've heard him say exactly that.
Yeah, the bottom line, you got to win games. If you're a team, then nothing is expected of you, and you're competitive. The worst thing to be is non-competitive, losing games by a decisive margin. If you lose a lot of close games, you could say you're close to turning the corner. And New England's not that far away. I mean, it's this year, just wash it away. It's just not New England's year this year, which is okay, but Grable by next year, if you're asking me whether I think he'll turn it around by next year, my answer would be yes. I predict by next year, he'll turn it around, and they might even be a playoff team next year. And in 2-3 years, they might be a Super Bowl contender. But this year, it's going to be ugly in New England.
Can't get uglier than it was last year, let me tell you right now. So there we go. There's Brian's explanation was
Wait,
about.
wait 1 second. Teams have done that all the time. Herbert is not the same quarterback he was early in his career. His performances haven't measured up the last couple of years. He's kind of lost something off his fastball. When we talk about the top quarterbacks in football, and James, I want to get James's take on this. Right now, we all agree, in no particular order, it's Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, and Burrow. But if you asked that same question 2 years ago, we wouldn't talk about the top 4. We talk about the top 5. Justin Herbert's name would be in that mix. It's not in that mix anymore. And if you believe J.J. McCarthy, like Harbaugh said, oh, he's the best player coming out of the draft. He's going to be a great player in the NFL. He's your guy. Take him, because you could get so much back for Herbert. You can make a deal that might resemble the Dallas Cowboy Herschel Walker deal, because if other teams believe Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and he's a young guy to boot, they'll give you a king's ransom for it. Make the darn deal. But Harbaugh never even considered drafting J.J. McCarthy.
I think Herbert is still a good quarterback. He hasn't had much weapons to work with the last 2 years, for one thing. I think you're going to see a bounce back by him this year, myself. Just a couple from Scott. You got really Scott all worked up today.
No, listen, some guys haven't lost anything off their fastball. I mean, we all have. I guess that's a joke. But you look at the players. I mean, Lamar Jackson hasn't lost a thing. I mean,
but I don't think
Burrow's lost a thing. Josh Allen hasn't lost a thing.
I don't think Herbert's lost anything off his fastball. I mean, he's still relatively young, and I just think that, like what Keith said, he just doesn't have the talent there. At wide receiver, Quentin Johnson has just really been a bust.
I put this up just say hi to my buddy Billy O'Neill, who I worked with like 30 years ago. Living in Florida. I'm not sure where this came from. I think we were talking about probably the game we found on YouTube. So good morning, Billy. Good to have you with us. So back to some pro football. Damien, welcome, Damien. I think a first-time commenter anyway. Welcome to the show. I trust the Jets with Justin Fields more than the Giants with Russ. I think is overrated and overhyped. Listen, I think Jackson Dart will be playing very soon. Week 4, week 5, I think you'll see Jackson Dart. And I do like Justin Fields. I'm one of the few guys that likes Justin Fields and think he can throw well enough that the rest of his game can, in the right system, I think Justin Fields can thrive.
You know what would have been a fun thing for the three of us to do? I don't think time would permit it. You take every single NFL team. We know who's the starting quarterback for game 1. And we should venture a prediction. Will that same quarterback be their starter for game 1 next year? And some guys, won't. Russell Wilson isn't the Giants starter next year for game 1, unless the Giants go on an unexpected big playoff run, which is unlikely. But Justin Fields probably will be their starter, even if he's so-so, because somehow the Jets are fully committed to him. And I'm not totally against it. I'm not confident in Justin Fields, but I'm not willing to write him off either. For me, it's like a wait-and-see type thing. Same thing you have with your New Orleans Saints. I think with Spencer Rattler, maybe he'll be the starter next year. But, you're on the fence, I kind of could sense. But you, Keith, with your Patriots, we know Drake May is going to be the starter next year, unless Mike Vrabel ruins him.
The same way that Belichick ruined Mac Jones. Yeah, and that's my biggest fear. Mac Jones was never mind. I'm not going to get into that. Yeah.
For 1 year, Mac Jones, what happened?
Well, the smart, and I love Bill Belichick. Everybody knows how much I love Bill Belichick. The stupidest thing he's ever done in his entire career is in Mac Jones' second season, which is a hugely important season for a young quarterback. He doesn't give him an offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach. He puts 2 defensive guys, one defensive guy and a special team guy running the offense. Stupidest thing that ever could have happened. They lost Mac Jones the minute they did that.
You know it's something that's not discussed, guys. How would history have played out if Bill Belichick didn't have the guts to move on from Drew Bledsoe, who was considered one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL and played an unproven Tom Brady, but he could see in practice that Brady was something special. But a lot of coaches wouldn't have had the guts to move on from Bledsoe.
And, well, he didn't right away because Bledsoe had just signed the richest contract in history of the NFL at the time in the offseason. And the problem was, and I've read this so many times in different tellings of the Patriots dynasty, that they knew in camp Brady was the best quarterback on the roster, but they couldn't play him because of Drew, who I love Drew as well. The best thing that happened.
Very good quarterback.
I said Mo Lewis was the MVP of that Super Bowl team. So thank you, Mo. He didn't have to bench him. He just didn't put him back in there, right? And Drew didn't make a huge stink about it, but he was pissed. So, and don't get me started on the Giants. Danny Fuller shows up. Hello, Danny. How are you? What else, guys? You know what? I wanted to. We have about 5 minutes left. Look, a couple of notes in baseball. Justin Verlander wins his 265th game yesterday. 42 years old. He hasn't had a very good year. He's pitched better the last month or so, but he's had a pretty atrocious year. 121 pitches. This is a pretty significant number to get to in today's game. I don't think there's going to be many more guys reaching 265 wins, much less 300. That number's gone forever. But that's an impressive number there. And Aaron Judge ties Yogi Berra at 358 home runs, fifth on the Yankee list. Which one of those things is more impressive to you guys?
The pitching.
I think Justin Verlander's.
Well, you're doing one game as opposed to career achievement. But, Judge yesterday hit a single, double, and homer. And I'm listening to Joe Girardi, former Yankee manager, and his analyst say, I'd love to see him hit a triple hit for the cycle. What is a great accomplishment, guys? An immaculate, we should maybe save this for the debate show, an immaculate inning, meaning 9 pitches, 9 strikes, you retire the side, or hitting for the cycle. What's a great accomplishment? Well, what's harder to do?
I want to start getting paid for this debate show questions because Jack questions every show we do. He's got a debate show question, so I think I have to start getting a cut here and the money's from that show. So.
I think what's harder is you have to consider age. I mean, Aaron's still sort of in his prime. I mean, but Verlander is 42, man, and 121. That's more impressive to me.
That's a lot of that. Just in a game today, guys aren't going to win. I mean, 10 wins, you win a Cy Young Award now. I mean, that would never happen 2 decades. Well,
but like Keith said, guys used to do that all the time in the past. It's the same way in boxing. They say, oh, he's a 2-time undisputed world champion. He made history. In the past, everyone was an undisputed champion.
Yeah, right. Unfortunately, I hate change. Speaking of boxing, we got glove fist tonight, Jack?
No. We're taking a day off Labor Day. Frank Laterzo likes hanging out in the Jersey Shore, and I guess, hanging out at the bar with his buddies. I don't know whether he'd be in any shape to do the show tonight.
4 home runs a game is harder than a perfect game. Danny pointed this out to me 21 times. Guys have hit 4 home runs in a game, and 24 perfect games, I think, was the number. Yeah.
That's a great question. That's a great point, Danny.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have been sure who. Keith is undisputed champion there.
I keep check out show after show. And happy Labor Day, whatever. I didn't say that at the top. I really apologize. Everybody have a happy Labor Day.
All who served.
We're out of time. I really thank James for coming in this morning. And anytime you're free, feel free to pop in. That's my opinion. I don't want to speak for Jack, but he can tell you.
We'll see. I'll reserve judgment on that.
Thank you guys for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Guys, have a great Labor Day. We'll see you. Jack won't see you tonight. I'll see you Wednesday with the College Football Huddle, and we'll be back Friday morning with Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook, and we will talk a lot of NFL on Friday, I'm sure. So, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.